you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Hey everybody, welcome back to Vita Premium Transitions, the series where we take a deck in V series, turn it into a premium deck, and I am doing this with Shedevilgaming. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So today we're covering a clan that's close to my heart and especially close to yours, Pale Moon.
Yes, I really love Pale Moon. I actually started with Bermuda, but I ended up switching to Pale Moon because Nightmare Dolls just caught my eye and I never went back.
That's kind of what happened with me, where like I started with Grand Blue, switched to Pale Moon because Lukier was brand spanking new, like the original one back then. And then because I was buying so much of set 7, I ended up with a bunch of Great Nature cards, and then that's how I got into Great Nature. So thanks, Pale Moon, for that. So today we're going to be looking at a version of Pale Moon that's not Silverthorn, believe it or not. It is Beast Tamers. So,
yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, Beast Tamers are a deck that is always glossed over. A lot of people don't really pay attention to it because if the main people are like the main competitive players aren't playing it, is usually looked down upon. And the thing is like I have played with this deck. It is not super competitive. It actually needs a few pieces, which I hope they actually finish the bunny archetype to finish Beast Tamers. But the whole gist of this one is actually multi-attacking. The flaw with it is that you lose hand advantage within multi-attacking, but you can change your strategy while you're attacking. Instead of using not Golden Beast Tamer. Instead of using her skill, Golden Beast Tamer. Sorry, wrong. Instead of using her skill when she's on the additional rearguard circle, you will mainly try to get to Dorian, because she doesn't have a skill that you use when you're attacking. So there's 2 plus whatever is on your board. Suck that all up, and then you also draw cards. That's when you start farming, so you can do a push turn. I do like this version, but it's not like strong enough to keep up with Steam nowadays. But if you're paying at locals, I feel like you would do fairly well with this deck if you know how to pace yourself and know what to look for.
Okay. So is the idea here to use Tiliaps to make another Vanguard circle, and then either Golden Beast Tamer or Dorian, who won't retire herself at end phase?
Correct, because she will be on V, so she'll think that she is a Vanguard, so she will not retire herself at the end of the turn. So you know they will target Dorian because like they're not gonna let you keep doing that. So you have to guard her as much as you possibly can, and if you have to let it go, you have to let it go. But mostly you don't want to just keep doing Dorian. You mainly want to try to focus on trying to get to Golden Beast Tamer so she can get the multi-attack going.
Right. So yeah, it looks pretty simple, straightforward. You have like Amaranth Beast Tamer and Amusing Bunny to like suck things in so they don't get bullied the next turn.
Right.
And then Rising Dragon is just an easy plus 10k, which will change into a different Rising Dragon very shortly. And yeah, I don't think there's a lot to say about this, is there? It's just pretty, so the main kicker is on the day we're recording this, Minerva Rising DBT08 just dropped in English.
Correct.
So yay. Why don't you tell us what's different about this version of the deck?
Okay, so this list is a little bit different. As you can tell that I do have Chimera at the top, because bunnies do not have a consistent way of countercharging. This card can do that, even though the Bunny Beast Tamer, he doesn't call grade 3s, but at the same time, once you get on your stride, that would change the whole game. Mm-hmm. You can also run into Beast Tamer if you feel like you need to do more, but I feel like the Bunny Beast Tamer is still stronger over Golden. Moving down to Rising, the reason that I play Rising is because the whole point of bunnies is getting as many bunnies into the soul as possible. He is on place. Put one into soul, draw a card. You won't be able to activate the secondary skill, but that's fine. He is still a 10k base, which you can just ride and sit on because it'll make better numbers, especially if you're going against force. But I really like this card because of the fact that it does a mulligan, give you a 1-for-1 in order to get your soul count up. Also, another thing, I do play Pop-Out Chimera, so you can get a early start with your soul. And also with Pop-Out Chimera, you can kind of like switch up like the ratios a little bit, because Pop-Out Chimera, when it is the reason I don't play it in V is because the fact is it is a grade 3 when it's in soul, so you cannot call it out. But in premium, you are able to call it out anytime. So this card becomes a 19k beater by itself. Also, Golden can also call it out, so you have those things, but at the same time, you don't want to get stuck with soul charging something. You can't do it with both Vanguards, if that makes sense.
Right.
MRF is kind of straightforward. We can kind of understand that MRF is just to push one into the soul, so you can clear up a column, so you don't just jump over whatever you have already in that column. If you notice, if you scroll down, the grade 1 bunny, Brassy Bunny, is the old version. I play the old version because of the fact is he likes to hop out at any time when someone else does. So he has this thing that once you call anything, he pops out. You want to get as many of these as possible into the soul, so when you call something, you can just call a whole bunch of them. You're not really using it for the being a 6k. You're using it for Dorian, because there's ways to manipulate Dorian within premium, so you can keep her alive. But Brass Bunny being able to fill up the board, and then you're pushing them in with Dorian, those are more bodies to help you draw more. Moving on to Midnight Bunny, the old version. The reason I like Midnight Bunny, the old version, is because of the fact is she doesn't randomly soul charge. The new version, you have to soul charge. You have no choice in the matter. You got to do it. But yeah, it's a mandatory. Yeah. And this one you don't soul charge at all, because I don't like randomly soul charging, because you might have a trigger and I would rather draw the trigger than it be in my soul. That is just how I feel. But yes, that's why I choose this one, because the multi-attack is still really strong. And the thing is especially if you just needed one more attack to get your opponent, I would prefer this one over the other one.
I think another thing with her is that the old one doesn't require it to be... It's just like, not her, not Midnight Bunny. But the new one, the V version, makes it a non-grade 1, which can like stop you a little bit. Like Masquerade Bunny is a 13k beater on her own, which can be useful. And if you run the old Midnight Bunny, that locks you out of it, right? Yeah.
I do play fronts.
Okay.
In this deck is because of the fact is fronts, you're trying to build a board. And so if you did double front, you pretty much win, because you just keep striking them, especially if you're with this deck, you really want to push them as fast as possible, because you cannot just like sit there and grind. You got to push them as fast as possible, try to get rid of your board so they don't take anything from you. But the fronts is there to continuously keep hitting and keep going and keep applying that pressure that you've already been applying at first. I wish I could play more crits, but at the same time, like, it's just one of those things. A lot of things won't hit, but you want to guarantee all your front row is hitting.
Would you ever consider running either like... Did Pale Moon have any like grade 1 PGs that were worth running on their own? Like the other effects were good enough, right?
So,
like some... What?
Yes, they do. It's you talking about Hoopmaster, and also there is Lovely Companion. Lovely Companion you can most definitely run in this build because the fact is it's not going to be now Lovely Companion is actually locked to Harry. Hoop Master is not locked to Harry. So the thing is, she can call anything out and give it intercept, but it's also the reason I like this deck. You can do anything with it like Harry. So the thing is, you can start retiring or messing with the board or anything like that. Like you don't have to stick with the bunny aspect of it. It's just like the reason I just kept it on that road because I just wanted to be an easy transition. But the thing is, he's generic, so he can just call any grade 2 and any grade 1. So that's why I like him so much. But with her, she is amazing. She's soul charged. She's soul charged, and she calls something out, and it gets 5k shield. The reason I didn't suggest this is because at the same time I feel like when you get too much information too fast, it tends to scare people. And I don't want to scare anybody away from premium. I actually want to encourage more people to test and try because it's just the sky is the limit when it comes to premium.
Definitely.
And we need more people to think creatively and be involved with the community in order so like just like the Dave that just taught Worlds, he's just very creative and he sat down and play test with friends and he got the list that he had because he thought outside the box and he knew there is no limits in premium. Going down, also with the front triggers is better shields because it's also a 20k instead of a 15k. You want to be very defensive and try to keep as much shield as possible. Going to the G zone. Okay, your main stride is always Princess, and the one that you're gonna always go into is not Yvette unless you're trying to farm. Your main stride you're going to be going in this deck is Harry. This is because you're trying to multi-attack as much as possible to knock more cards out of your opponent's hand. This is where Rising comes up, and this is where mostly pop out Chimera. That's why I say you can mess with the ratios, because pop out Chimera, if you get enough of them, they all gain 10k, and they are bigger bodies sitting on a cell marker that's 24. So like, you want to be as aggressive as possible, and Harry gives you what you need. Then he also puts back what he puts onto the board. The new stride that just recently came out last year, the reason that I don't really care for her is because she doesn't put back what she pulled out. She does give a garbage trick, but at the same time, remember when you're playing, if you're going to do this stride, make sure they're at a reasonable amount of damage and a low hand count in order so you can do a good push, because at the same time, if they know what they're doing, they can still survive because her garbage trick is only from hand, not G zone, the G zone.
Yeah.
When it comes down to Yvette, like I said earlier, she is just for farming, just making an extra Excel marker so your board can become wider, faster. That can help in the long run so you can get more attacks and, like I said, get as many brassy bunnies out of the soul to come onto the field so you can use Luki A to be able to push those into the soul to gain more advantage over your opponent. The other Chimera. Oh, do you have a question?
No, what was the one thing I was trying to think of? It was... Oh yeah, this is kind of ancillary, but the Harry stride, for those who don't know, can put locked cards into soul because it says choose 2 cards on 2 other circles, not units, which means that if you're playing against Link Joker, this can just unlock your board. So,
correct.
Good to know. Anyway, continue.
With the new Chimera, the new G Guard for Pale Moon, it is a very complicated G Guard. It's not
I
something
love this
that is
one.
Yeah, it's not very straightforward. You have to outplay your opponent if you use this one. It seems very straightforward, but some people know how to play around this, so they will call extra cards. Most times how I get people is they get too comfortable, and then I wait until they just have nothing less, and I do double Chimera, and then they have nothing else left for my extra attacks to get me down. Mm-hmm. To be honest, with the other GB flip, G Guard, that's a flex spot. I would actually, if you can get a, I can't think, Dismal will be much better to keep Dorian safe. For some god reason, she is out on the board and you just need to protect her. Go for a Dismal over this card. I just didn't add Dismal because Dismal is a little bit pricey, but if you can trade for it or ask a friend for it and they're willing to give it up, then do so. But this card I really don't like. It's just a 30k shields. It's okay. It's not the greatest.
Yeah, Dismal is another one of those cards where, for people getting into the format, things you should have copies of pretty much no matter what. For Rollick, Dismal, Elementary of Sanctitude, all that other stuff. I'll probably do a video on that at some point.
That would be good. The last G Guard. This G Guard is really,
I love this one.
Yeah, it's really good, especially if you make the mistake and soul charge. Let's say if I know my opponent has a guard restricts and I don't have enough shield in my hands, I would prepare early and put like a over trigger into my soul. And then when I am guarding and I know that they're going to do it, I would G guard with this one, making my shield 65, which makes my Vanguard go up to, let's say if I got no triggers, then that would be 77.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes a giant skill. But the thing is with premium, you have to still, like, it takes time. Don't worry. It takes time, especially if you're with the right people, you'll be able to like think 2 steps ahead. So that's just how it is.
Yeah, you can also call a perfect guard at a soul and just do that.
Depends on what perfect guard it is. Because if it's
the draw PGs, you can.
Most definitely. If it's the great ones from the new D series, you most definitely can. But if it's Lovely Companion or Hoopmaster, they say you must place them from hand. So
yeah,
they will, I believe, Lovely Companion will most definitely proc because when she is placed, when she retires, she activates, not when she is placed.
Yeah, this is one of those strides that G guards that gets around the whole, oh, you can't guard with like sentinels or no grade zeros from hand because this is calling it from soul. So just something to consider when going against matchups that try to win with like their last attack being, I don't know, a certain rhino that is talented and says no zeros from hand or something. Yeah.
Another one is Seabreeze. Seabreeze in a competitive setting is not really the best right now because of the fact is all the ride downs that are happening. So most people are not going to grade 2 game, especially if they don't have a ride down mechanic. But if you're playing in a casual setting and your friend is trying to learn, this is a good way to teach them like Seabreeze is always an option and why it's good to rewrite your grade 2. This is just a flex spot. You can literally put this for anything else. It's just an option, and also it was a good way of teaching you about a stride that is also generic in all clans.
Mm-hmm. And then what was the deal with whoops? Not what I was going for. Dang it. What was the deal with Millward?
Okay, I was gonna save her for last because she is my favorite because I love Harpy ladies. The reason that I use her is if you're damage denied or you have no way to get to Chimera, the ones that I said that counter charge it, and you just don't have any, and you already used up your princesses, then this is another option because she's just a soul blast call, and then like I told you earlier, then the bunnies and everything else will pop out. There are other options of cards that like to jump out of the soul when something else is called. So she calls too, and I feel like this is a really good option, a very cheap option, and I keep it in my G zone just in case. It has came up just once, and I was happy I had it in the G zone.
Yeah, I think this fulfills a similar role to Yvette, which is when being damage denied, you can still do something. Pale Moon has a reputation for being a very counterblast heavy clan.
Yes.
So even if it's not always the case for the deck itself, people are just see like, oh, it's purple Circus, so I'm gonna damage deny it, and then you drop this on them and get the win that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up before we wrap up here?
Always have fun. Always enjoy. Like that's something that people need to remember. Like when you join a game, always remember to take it as a grain of salt in the beginning and then learn how to play the game correctly. Learning to play correctly will make it more fun. Also play with a group of people that you really, really love playing with and you really love hanging around, especially if they're very knowledgeable of the game. Always try to grow, always try to get better. But that's all. Other than that, it's just the deck is very straightforward.
So yeah, can you just tell us where to find you and all that stuff before we?
Well, you can find me on Twitter. I name Shedevilgaming on Twitter and also my YouTube. I am streaming on my YouTube now. I finally hit 1K subs and
Congrats!
And 2 days later, I got monetized, so I was really happy about that. But yes, yeah, you can find me on YouTube and also Twitter. I don't have any other social media accounts because I don't have enough time to do it all by myself. But other than that, that's all like where you can find me.
All right, so that'll all be in the description, and then also if you want the deck logs for these to like go over the decks again, that'll be down in the description. Thanks everybody for watching. Let us know what clan you want to see for next time. We'll see you next time.
Bye.